Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Meer Speaks. I'm your host, Shamir Lord. If you're here and you're new, I am the CEO of Shamir Empowers You, and I'm also an entrepreneur and a coach. So today's topic, we're going to be talking about stop waiting for permission. Because I see that often, a lot of people are constantly waiting for somebody to give them the okay. And I'm here to tell you, you don't need to wait for somebody to give you the okay. So, there's certain things that hold us back on our journey. One of the things is trying to be perfect. Then the other thing is waiting. Waiting until you feel ready. Waiting until everything makes sense. Waiting until you have more confidence. Waiting until you got the support. Waiting until people believed in the vision. The problem is life keeps moving while you're waiting. You start seeing everybody's success happening and wonder, well, why is that not happening to me? Because you're still there waiting. And if we're not careful, we could spend years waiting and asking people for permission who are never qualified to give us the permission. So let's talk about it. A lot of people think that, they're waiting for the right opportunity. They're not. They're waiting for certainty. And the sad thing about it is nothing is sure in this life. Now, for me, the one thing that was for certain for me was that I was going to be successful and I was going to work for myself. I didn't know how it was going to happen. I honestly thought I was going to make it through music. And the goal was like, all right, I'm going to get signed. And then the goal at some point changed because I was like, you know what, I don't want to get signed. Once I realized that those deals was just a trap, and honestly, now we're in the day and age where you could literally produce yourself, put yourself out, and make yourself rich. It's like, what do you need a label for at this point? Even for distribution, you don't need labels. Anyway, you know, people want to know it's going to work before they start. And, like I said, that's not how life works. Most of the things that changed my life started with uncertainty. I don't know if you've seen a hat. You probably seen it on some flyers or get comfortable. Basically, get comfortable being uncomfortable because life is just like that. You can't think that everything is going to come with certainty. You move first and then the confidence shows up. You know, I could even say starting my clothing line. During COVID, I told y'all, during the COVID, that's when I really went full force with SEY. And then I also went full force with the Rebirth, um, one of my clothing brands, where I ended up making some designs, sold some shirts, and I was like, okay, I can actually sell this, to people. And then I ended up creating a custom clothing brand because I bought a printing press. I got to get my printing press so I could get back to printing these shirts. But I ended up doing a custom clothing line. I ended up printing for somebody's business. I ended up printing for a softball team. Me and my wife made custom shirts for Harry Potter night. Like, just so much freedom. Anyway, sometimes you just have to go. You have to just step out, like they say a lot of times, step out on faith. One thing that I've noticed is people want support, and that's natural that you want to feel supported. I think for me that was like a big issue. It was like people say that they're your friends, people say that they support you, but then all in all, there's nobody actually supporting you. So one thing I noticed is people want support before they move. They want family to understand, they want friends to approve, and social media to clap. Social media is not real in the first place. Sometimes the people around you won't understand the vision because it wasn't given to them. You can't expect somebody to see what wasn't meant for them to see. It's your vision, not theirs. And we can't keep trying to convince people to see what we see. Either they see it or they don't. And if they don't, who cares? It's yours to see and it's yours to do. It's not their job. It's your job to move. There's been plenty of times where, everybody will say, oh, well, you should just get a job. You should just do this. You should just do that. Why don't you mind your business? Why don't you mind your business? Like, I'm at the point now in my life where I'm just pursuing my goals. I'm pursuing my goals and I'm helping people along the way while I pursue my goals. And it's such a freeing feeling to wake up every day and be like, hey, you know what? I want to work on some music. Hey, you know what? I'm gonna record some content for my band. Hey, you know what? Today I'm gonna have a session with a client. Like, I get to say, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm not doing. A lot of times, like last summer, We went to Kansas because I told y'all my wife, family, she got family out there. So her nieces and they love when we come out there because when we come out there, oh, we the fun, we the fun. So it be the one of those situations because I used to work at a church, doing sound. Like that's part of my freelancing because I love audio. So I do audio engineering, and then it'll be a time where I'm like, hey, you know what? I'm not gonna be here. I'm leaving. And then it'll be to the point where people start texting me like, "Yo, when you coming back?" I was like, "Oh, I don't know yet. I'm just we just chilling out here." And they was like, "No, you're not on vacation. I actually am now. I don't have to ask anybody for permission to go where I want to go. I'm just gonna go." And nobody's coming with a green light to tell you, okay, here you could go. And I honestly wish somebody would have told me, a long time ago, hey, don't wait for people. Nobody is coming with a permission slip. Nobody's coming to say, hey, it's your turn now. You can go. At some point, you just have to be the person who gives yourself permission because honestly, this is your life. You have to live it. I remember, even back in the days, when my mom used to say certain things about certain things that I was doing. And I was like, well, it's my life. I got to live it. I got to make these mistakes. And if I make these mistakes, well, then these are mine to make. But it's not for you to, like, I'll listen, give the advice all you want. But at the end of the day, I'm going to make whatever decision I feel is best for me. I'm not going to ask you for permission for me to do anything. Oh, cool. This is what I'm doing. Well, and this is what I'm doing. I'm not really asking anybody for permission. In the course of you waiting for somebody to tell you, oh, it's okay for you to do that, you know what that's really costing you? It's costing you your freedom. It's costing you your happiness. It's costing you your peace. It's costing you time with your family. It's costing you traveling. All these things that you want to do to actually live a life and not exist. It's costing you all these things. Lost opportunities, confidence you lost, you losing momentum. All the time while you're waiting, you're losing momentum. And the biggest cost of waiting, it isn't failure, is wondering what would have happened if you started sooner. And I think that's the worst thing we could do. When one of my favorite people is Gary Vee, and he talks about the worst thing you can do is have regret. And a lot of times we always think, oh, well, I'm too old to do this, or I'm not ready, I'm not far enough along, or who's going to listen to me? Listen, it all started with somebody like you. Most of the companies, I'm not talking about the people with silver spoons who started companies. I'm talking about a lot of these mom and pop shops or a lot of these people who became big brands like Damon John. He started Fubu, and it was from a belief that he started Fubu. Now he's an investor. I'm sure, I don't know if he thought at one point he would be an investor, but he knew for sure he wanted to have a clothing brand. And even, when people told him, hey, don't do this, he still went ahead and did it anyway. You know what I mean? I feel like if you have a belief that this is something in your heart you need to do, there shouldn't have to be anybody convincing you to do that. If that's something that you genuinely want to do, nobody should have to convince you to do that. So the answer isn't more planning, it's moving before you feel ready. One call, one video, one post, one conversation, one decision. Action creates clarity, and it's not the other way around. I remember when, like I told y'all about the audio, but I remember when I was at a point where I was just like, man, what am I even doing? When I got out of school and I took that job with Encore, I was like, man, this is not what I'm trying to be doing. I'm trying to work in the studio. And then what ended up happening, the crazy thing is, we came down here like 3 times to audition, not even audition, but to do some interviews for the studio. 2 times the girl had some issues, and then honestly, I looked up the studio, and I ended up finding out like a couple months back it got shot up, and I was like, in my head, I was like, maybe that was God like trying to say, bro, you don't even need to be there. So I say all that to say, a delay is not a denial. Working at the church and being able to move how I wanted to move, it allowed me a freedom. It allowed me to really realize what can happen when I take a chance on myself, when you bet on yourself. So many times we are so afraid to bet on ourselves, but why not? I learned that I'm capable of everything that I thought I could do. And I feel like that's a lot of y'all out there. A lot of y'all are waiting for somebody to say it's okay. A lot of y'all are waiting for the support. Somebody told me the realest thing. They said strangers support more than friends do. And I've found that to be true. Most of the people that I've come in contact with, even the people who are now my friends, were really, really strangers. And the people who I started with as friends, I don't see them supporting like that. So you know what I do? I don't even hold my breath because it's one of those situations where people will only support when they start seeing you be successful. And I'm that type of person. Don't come around me when I start being successful because I already remember the same energy that you had when I was trying to make it when I was, hey, here's this, here's that, hey, I got this, I got that. I remember, and it's not always about money. So I want to just confirm that it's not always about money because in the age of social media, a share can get you a long way. And I tell people all the time, you never know who this could reach because you know people I don't know, and you never know who needs help. And it also, doing all these courses and going to a lot of events. Because recently I've been in that stage of just investing in myself. You come to learn that it's out there, and if you genuinely want to help people, or if you genuinely feel like you have a service or a product that can help people, it's your duty to sell that to people. It's your duty to put that in the right hands. It's your duty. So I'm telling you to just stop waiting. If you're really serious about changing your life, don't wait. Decide right now, you know what? I want to lose weight, or I want to really start my business, or you know what? I really want to paint this mural. Do the things. Do the things. The life you want is probably sitting on the other side of the decision that you've been delaying, and that's the truth. The moment you decide to give up, that's right when you was about to get it. You don't need permission. You need movement. So if you're tired of trying to figure everything else, I'm always gonna offer to help. I got some ebooks. I got whatever you need. I also have something called my decision clarity session where we speak. I give you a plan 101 and you go out and execute it yourself. Because listen, some people they want to do it on their own. They don't want the guidance. And I'm listen, because I'm like that with certain things. Like I got a program that I did, and I was just like, just give me the information. I can do it by myself. I don't need nobody to sit here and walk me through because a lot of times I get frustrated. But anyway, I'm going to leave a link in this video so we can talk. And what would you start today if you didn't have to wait for permission? I want you to really seriously think about that and see what your soul says. What would you do if you weren't waiting for permission? Think about it. I'm but a ripple in a pond, so are you. Go out there and tell somebody. Make sure you subscribe too. Peace.